I waited quite a long time to get my review of Kirby Air Riders in production. And why is that? Well, it's because I needed to spend more time with the game because there is just so much that this game has to offer. And at first, I didn't like it at all. I'm going to be totally upfront with you. This was going to be a review of me bashing Kirby Air Riders. I was going to say a lot of negative things about it, even though it has a lot of good things going for it. But as I spent more time with it and started to understand the controls a little bit more, understand where this game was coming from, and just get back to those GameCube roots, I found myself enjoying this game a lot more than I would have ever expected. Before I get into any of the main modes, first let me talk about Kirby Air Riders as a whole. This game is different, okay? If you go into this game expecting it to be like a Mario Kart, like a Sonic Cross Worlds, like any racing game you have ever played before, you are going to come away disappointed. You just will, because I did. The first 5 to 10 hours of me interacting with this game was me frustrated with it. I didn't understand the controls, I didn't understand the appeal, and it just wanted to make me go back to Mario Kart. All I wanted to do the whole time I was beginning out my journey with Air Riders was just go back to Mario Kart. And of course, Mario Kart is the mainstream racing game. But if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for a Sakurai game through and through, if you're looking for something that will actually captivate you if you give it the time to, Kirby Air Riders is going to be the game for you. Kirby Air Riders starts off with its main racing mode. Of course, it's very different than other racing games because this racing mode is not the main mode. That's not the point of this game. You're not going around these different tracks and you're racing all the time. That's not the point. This game provides you different experiences than you will ever find anywhere else. With that main air ride mode, you have the races, you have the time attacks, and then you have the free roam mode that's not like Mario Kart, but you can go infinitely around each track and try to get your best lap, which is different than time trial because with time trial, you're constrained within however many laps that is, so you go around it twice if there are 2 laps, and then that's it. That's your time. But with the free run mode, you can go around each lap infinitely until you are satisfied, until you are able to get each lap down the way you want to. And it will time yourself every single time, so you're always racing against yourself to get a better time. So basically, free run mode is the perfect way to practice to get the perfect time trial, which is the perfect way to practice to get the best racing mode, which is the perfect way to practice to play online or with your friends and to race with everybody else. Because once you've mastered these tracks, there's not a whole lot left for you to do outside of trying different machine and character combinations, which will change up your gameplay drastically. Because the point of this game and the point of this racing mode has a lot less to do with the design of each individual track, but more of how you interact with it in the terms of your customization of your character and your machine. If you pick Kirby, for example, right here on this Warp Star, and then you pick Bandana Waddle Dee on the Warp Star, you're going to get 2 completely different experiences. If you put Kirby on that Wing Star, and then you put Bandana Waddle Dee on the Warp Star versus the Wings, you're just going to get completely different outcomes, because every single time you put a different character on a different combination of machine, you are going to have a different outcome. That is what's so special about this game in particular. With Mario Kart World, for example, there are hidden stats for each individual character, but the difference between a Bowser and a Donkey Kong isn't significant in my opinion. A difference between a baby Rosalina and a Swoop isn't very different. The only reason that you're picking different characters in those games is because you want to have that character. You want to play as your favorite characters. In Kirby Air Riders, you are trying to be very strategic with the stats of each individual character. And of course, the machines will vary that gameplay as well. If you come into this mode, if you come into this game thinking that you're going to find one specific thing and really get hooked on it and play it over and over and over again, that certainly is a possibility. That's kind of what I thought I was going to find, was one mode that I just loved playing and never played the other ones. But I think you're going to find that this game is much more of a variety experience. This is much more of a, okay, I did my racing mode, now let me go to Top Ride, now let me do a city trial, now let me go back and forth, and then you're going to find yourself hopping in between modes, kind of like you would with Smash Brothers. Most people would find that the main Smash mode is like the 3-stock battle, that's how you would like to play, but then there are other modes as well. There's like the World of Light mode, and then of course there's the battle modes where you can go and pick each individual character, and then every time you lose that character. So there are different types of ways to fight in Smash Brothers. There are different ways to race and enjoy this game in Kirby Air Riders. There isn't necessarily one thing that's going to hook you. The Air Ride mode is a little bit lackluster in my opinion because it has so much to do with those vehicle customizations, those character customizations, you're not gonna find yourself interacting with these courses the way you would with Mario Kart. Like with Mario Kart, it's much more about mastering each individual course, regardless of who you are playing as, regardless of what vehicle you are driving. In Kirby Air Riders, it has much more to do with your experience. It's what you make of it, which means this game has endless potential. You can put hundreds and hundreds of hours into it if you please, because this is about what you put into this game. The next main mode we need to talk about is Top Ride. Top Ride is essentially the overview look of this game, and of course, rather than just racing through regular courses, you are playing as a much smaller version of yourself, of whatever character that you have, and the way you're going to maneuver yourself around these courses is completely different than anything I've ever experienced. With a Kirby Air Riders mode, you are going left to go left, right to go right, and if you hold back on the joystick, you are going to fly upwards a little bit, and if you go down, it's going to push you down further if you're in the air. When you're typically driving around, the only things you need to do is go left and go right. Now with this Top Ride mode, it's completely different. It's going to show you a top view of this map, and of course, you are not going just left to right, you're going all around. So you're going to be rotating your joystick, you're going to be moving that joystick in whichever direction you choose. Whichever direction that you are pushing your joystick in is the direction that your vehicle is going to be going in, and that can provide such a fun, different experience from the main racing mode, because it is much more bite-sized of an experience from the actual racing. Of course, this is a race mode, time trial, free run mode, and then of course the online mode, it's the exact same as the regular racing. All those different modes are the same options. This Top Ride is very different though, and it will provide you a much different experience from the racing mode, and it gives you a good break from all those other things, because I found myself really loving Top Ride. That was probably one of my favorite things to do in this game, was just continue to practice those over and over and over again and get the best lap score I could get. So yeah, Top Ride is completely and totally underrated, and this is one of the first modes you should jump into once you get Kirby Air Riders for yourself. Moving on to City Trial, we have a bunch of different modes here, and I'm cheating on my little notepad here, but we have Trial, Stadium, Free Run, Online, and then My Music. Now let's start with My Music, because that's the coolest part about this. My Music allows you to go through every single track that could potentially play during your any city trial mode that you're doing here, and it lets you pick which ones you are going to be hearing most frequently. If you want to listen to one of the tracks from a very niche subset of this game, from a random track that no one cares about, if you want to hear that song over and over again, you can literally turn off all of the other game's soundtracks and just play that one. So during free trial, you can basically customize your music to listen to whatever you want, and that is just insane. Like, that is a Sakurai move through and through, to be able to say, yeah, you can listen to whatever you want to, because why not? Why not? Why not listen to this? Why not be able to do that? Because options. Because I am Masahiro Sakurai and I am amazing. Because, like, why not? But of course, with City Trial, the main mode is the trial mode. And this is a very different experience from any other game I've ever played. It is just oozing those GameCube vibes. If you love the GameCube era, this game is for you. You are racing around a area, right? This one very condensed area. It's not very far, and of course you're starting with 0 stats on all of your stats. Any sort of attack, defense, top speed, boosting mode, charging, all of these different things that you can get are at 0. And as you go around this map, you're like kind of sluggish to start out. Whatever vehicle you have, you start with that Warp Star, and then you will be able to move around, find different vehicles that are just displayed out for you on the middle of this field. Then you can jump on a vehicle and go around and get different stats. The more stats you get, the more you collect, the better your vehicle is going to be. And of course, you will end up finding different stats that you are prone to, right? If you find weight over and over and over again, or attack over and over and over again, you're going to have that in the back of your head. You're going to want to say, okay, how many stats of this particular side of things have I gathered? And that's important to remember, because this is a 5-minute period, right? You are in this zone, different things are happening, different bosses will come, and there are a ton of different characters running around. If you're online, it's like 20 different people in this area. Once you get to the end of that 5 minutes, all of the stats that you have accumulated will be important to know, because they will give you 4 different mini games to choose from at the end. You will want to pick the mini game that best suits whatever stats you have accumulated throughout that entire 5-minute period. If you have a wheelie, for example, with not a lot of glide powers, because you can't glide with wheelie, you're not going to want to pick the one where you glide towards the numbers and pick the highest one. You're going to want to pick something that's a little bit more grounded, a little bit more about the attack than you would that. And of course, it will say whatever one is recommended to you for your stats, it will pick whichever one you want if you do that way. And of course, it will also recommend you based on what it thinks will be best for you, and you can just pick that recommended one every time without even thinking about it. If you don't even remember what stats you got, you go into that minigame, and then that's it. There will typically be like 4 or 5 different people sometimes, depending upon the minigame, but you will go into that minigame, and then whoever wins that minigame is whoever wins City Trial. So it feels kind of weird because at the same time, like 5 minutes, you spend 5 full minutes racing around, and 5 minutes is not a long time. I recognize that, but within this game, 5 minutes feels like an eternity because with every other racing mode, 5 minutes will get you through 2 to 3 different races. Like in the top ride mode, 5 minutes is going to get you through like 4 of those rounds. Within the actual racing mode itself, 5 minutes will get you to 2 to 3 of those depending on your courses. It's going to be a long time, 5 minutes will. So in the trial mode, you are racing around trying to find all of these different stats, and then the stats lead you to a minigame. So sometimes it can kind of feel like within those 5 minutes you are wasting your time because the minigame is all that matters, right? So if you're going around gathering all these stats, you wasted 5 minutes if you get 4th place in the minigame. If you just choke at the last second, you are not going to win this mode. So even if you get the most stats by far, if you get like hundreds and hundreds of stats, if you outstat everybody, you could still choke in the last minute and lose. And that is unfortunate because it doesn't feel very skill-based. If you really think about it, it is, because technically you are knowing what stats you're getting, you're preparing for potential minigames, and then you pick one, and then you have to be ready for that. But I don't know. There were many times when I felt like I did a phenomenal job in the actual trial mode itself, getting all the stats, running around, defeating enemies, defeating people, and then I just choked at the last second. And of course that can be attributed to myself as my fault, but I don't know. I didn't feel like that was very rewarding. It didn't feel like an experience that wanted me back. I didn't feel hooked by that. I felt disappointed by that. And of course, the controls are the exact same as the main racing mode, except you're in an open environment, which I really, really wish they would have pushed more of that. I wish Sakurai would have given us much more of an open space for us to interact with. Like, imagine if he had given us a mode where we could all go around, gather up stats, and then fight each other. That would be so much fun. Imagine someone who stacks up on attack power and has a wheelie, right? And then there's someone else who has the wing star, and then they stack up on top speed and gliding abilities. So then they go and they fly around, and you can never catch them if you're on a wheelie. So then they would just be gliding around, and then they would just outlast you. And hopefully you would win. If you were on that glide star, you would be able to outsmart that person who's on the ground. But that would just be such a cool mode. What if they had given us different modes with these different stats outside of simply just giving us City Trial? I wish we could interact more with each other in this world, and we had more worlds to interact with. In a lot of ways, this game feels like the sequel that Kirby Air Ride never got. Something that like it would be on the GameCube, and it came out a few years later, and it's like, wow, they really improved that game. This doesn't feel to me like something that is 20 years in the making. It simply feels to me like they followed up with it in the way they thought that would be best to the series' roots. And that's not always a bad thing, but I feel like with a game like this, in the first year of a new console's life cycle, when most people are going to be willing to jump in on new games, they should have innovated a little bit more than they did. It just feels like they went to the drawing board in terms of how can we make this a better sequel, not a better game. It focused a lot more on it being the second iteration rather than being a whole new experience. The one area in which this critique is totally addressed is the road trip single player mode. This mode is pretty cool, but it can also be very, very repetitive. The way road trip works is that you are Kirby and you are going on a road trip, right? You're in the middle of a road and it just doesn't tell you anything. It opens with a little cutscene and then you're on your way. You get on this road and then you have 3 dudes that are in front of you, and you go up and you pick which one you want to interact with. Whichever one you interact with will show you a minigame, and you'll do that minigame and you'll win it. And if you win it, you move on to the next one over and over and over again until you eventually get to the end of that individual road. Once you get to the end of that road, you'll fight a boss, you'll see a cutscene, and then you'll move on to the next road. Rinse and repeat until the end of the journey. And there are about 9 to 10, I think there are about 11 different roads that you will go on until you get to the end. And on each 11 roads, there are about 7 or 8 different challenges that you will face. So this can be a lot for you to interact with, and it just feels very samey to me until you finally understand why you're on this road to begin with. There is actual reasons why it's called Road Trip and why Kirby is going where he is going. The story is actually really cool, and the boss fights get even better as the levels go on. Like the last 3 worlds, especially that final boss, it is insane. It just makes me really jealous. And of course, it is so upsetting because when you see something with such potential like these last boss fights have, and you see, like with these boss fights, I'm not going to spoil them, but they are in much more open zones than City Trial ever was. They're huge zones, and I just wish that they had given us more examples of that, given us more open spaces to interact with things in, and just given us more to do with those spaces. It's always very frustrating when you really enjoy an aspect of a game and you think to yourself, oh my goodness, why couldn't they have just taken it a little bit further? Why couldn't they have done this just a little bit more? Because if your game is leaving me wanting more, I'm sorry, but you've not done something right with that area. The road trip isn't very long. Even though it feels like it can be very long, it's very repetitive. It can be accomplished in like 5 hours. If you just sit down in one afternoon, you can finish this thing pretty easily. So it's very short, but it's also encouraging you to replay. Because if you go through and you want to run up to one of these 3 guys, one of them sometimes will give you like these weird JPEG images, and I'm like, what is this? And then at the end of each road, those JPEGs will eventually lead you to a different road. So it encourages you to go back through multiple times, to go through the different roads, go through it, experience it again, and then 100% it to eventually unlock a secret character. This is all well and good. Road trip, all these different modes, it provides a lot of experience to be had. It provides a lot to do. But at the same time, it's all very surface level. There is nothing about this game that is going to grab you by the throat and make you want to engage with it. Like, nothing about this is hooking me the way I thought it would. The only reason, and I mean the only reason, that I did not give up on this game after the first couple hours of playing was because I knew I needed to put out a review of this game. If I hadn't, I just would have dropped it. It just wasn't my thing. Then eventually I caught my stride. I saw that this game had a lot to offer. I saw all the different modes. I saw everything, and I spent a little bit more time with each one individually. Now, if you're starting out, I would say Road Trip is absolutely the mode to do because you will unlock a lot of character and machine combinations and be able to do it through that. Then having a lot more of those to play with in the other modes is going to make those modes even more fun because, like I said, it has more to do about the character combinations than it does the actual tracks themselves. Road Trip is absolutely the place to start because you are going to learn a lot of the basics on Road Trip. You're going to learn how to do all these different modes, how to engage with the game, and of course, that individual vehicle that you get, those stats you accumulate, are going to be held throughout the entirety of this thing. So at the very end, you're going to feel so powerful. It's such a good feeling. So those are the main modes. Those are some of my critiques with the main modes, some of the things I like about them. Let's talk a little bit more about the side content that this game has to offer. Now again, please allow me to look over here and cheat on my little notes here because it is a lot. This is a Sakurai game through and through. With the extra content here, you're going to have one, Connect. That's the online mode. You're going to play online with friends. You're going to be able to make a vehicle license, spectate, and then the machine market. With the making the license, there's just a little license thing. It's nothing, really. It's a nothing burger. You just go in, you customize your own license, you make your little nickname, you make your little background, and then you have like a digital looking physical license that you can use, and it doesn't do anything really. It just shows you how much power you have in terms of your online mode. There's so many things like this. It's just like nothing. You do it and then you're done with it. You're not going to really interact with that again, and it's just, I don't know. It's such a Sakurai thing to put in, and it's very endearing because it shows how much he cared, how much he thought about this, how much he wanted to add these different things, and I do respect that. I respect it, but still, it's just content for the sake of content. It's not really something that most people are going to care about. Next up, you have the machine market, and if you're looking to buy all of the different machines, you can do it here. The coins that you earn throughout all these other individual modes by playing online, you can spend them here. You can buy all the different machines that you have used in Road Trip. Then you have the extras mode with the checklist, the My Machine, the amiibo, and then the lessons. Now, a lot of these are just different. The checklist is like, you're just going to accomplish most of those by playing the dang game, and you're going to unlock a bunch of different stuff by playing the game as well. The checklist is just something to finish. My Machine allows you to customize each and every one of your machines. You can paint it a different color, you can put a pattern on it, you can put some gradients on it, you can put whatever you want on it, and you can make your own machine. That is so cool. A lot of people are going to spend tons of hours on it, and then of course you can share it with your friends, share it online, and people can use that then. Then you have your amiibo, which I have right here, both Kirby amiibo, $50 each. Go check out my video on that to see my opinions and review of it. But with those amiibo, you were able to use it similarly to Smash Brothers. You put it in and then you train your amiibo, and then once you get it up to a powerful enough level, it becomes an unstoppable amiibo god that you can never beat. Then finally, you have the collection mode with the garage, the gummies, the Miles shop, the music player, the replay mode, the game log, the rivals, the movies, and then the personal best. This is just so much. Now, starting off with the garage, you can have your little garage area where you display your digital machines. This is a nothing burger, but again, it's just like, why would they do this? Because it's Sakurai. Because they could. And you know what? I respect it. You can make it to where it's not just this single garage, right? Like most modes, if they were ever to do this, okay, they'll just give you one garage and then you can just display a few things on there. No, Sakurai lets you upgrade your garage. You can buy a big one in 3 different modes: a sci-fi, a fantasy, a futuristic mode. You can do whatever the heck you want with these garages, and you can put 9 different vehicles on display in the large ones. Then you have the gummies mode. This is just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You have these digital gummies, okay? And you get them by beating different bosses, going through the road trip, going through these different modes. You get gummies occasionally. All of your gummies are displayed here. And then you just interact with them. You just launch them around and you mess around with them. It's I don't know what to say about that. It's gummies. Moving on. You have the Miles shop, and let me just show you right here. It has the machines, you have the My Machine parts, the headwear, the license card, and then the sounds. This is where you go to buy all of your stuff, okay? If you want more machines, if you want machine parts, music, all these different license things, you go here to buy those. This is just insane. Like, it's menus inside of menus inside of menus. You have so much content to interact with, and the thing that's so frustrating is that, yes, it is a ton, but this is not something I am going to be heavily engaging with. This is not something that most people are going to be spending a lot of time on. With a game like Smash Brothers that sells so well, that most people are spending hundreds and hundreds of hours on, that 30+ million people are buying, every single time you see a different strategy, a different option, a different mode, you think, awesome. This is great. It's just more things to do. In a game like Kirby Air Riders, I find myself confused why it exists. Why did you put so much time and effort into this? I have no reason to hate on it. I'm not hating on it, but it's just confusing because most people are not going to be doing this. Most people are not going to be interacting with this. Take like the smallest, most niche franchise you know. Something like a Punch-Out, right? Let's say they bring back Punch-Out. And they don't just bring back Punch-Out. They bring Punch-Out back. They make every single crevice and nook and cranny perfected with love and care. It's not a bad thing, but for fans of bigger series that don't get exactly what they want, they think to themselves, why couldn't we get this in the massive series over here, but we can get it over here with Kirby Air Riders? It's like people who would get jealous of Xenoblade because they say we get games all the time. We really don't get games all the time, but we do happen to get a lot of love from Monolith Soft because that's their baby, that's their child, right? With Masahiro Sakurai, I can see it with Kirby. He loves this game. He loves the idea of Air Riders being perfected to its very core. And so he did it, and I have nothing to say other than, wow, if you love this game, if you love the concept of this game, you're never going to find a better experience. And of course, with the DLC here, he said there was none. He said there are no DLC planned for this game. Every single thing in this game is just how he wanted it. From start to finish, he is done with this game now. And I respect that. I respect that he told us that up front. I could go through all the rest of these modes here, music, replay, game log, like all these different things that it has, but I think you get the point. I think you understand. If you want to buy Kirby Air Riders, I am going to warn you. It's going to be difficult. If you've not played this game before, if you've never interacted with anything like this, it is very GameCube coded. The GameCube games had some weird, wacky stuff going on. The controls are wild. It's different than anything I've ever played. It feels like I was picking up my first video game ever. But I think I am more than happy to recommend this game to someone who is curious about it. What is the type of person that should play this game, that should buy this game? The type of person that is curious about it, the type of person that thinks Mario Kart was disappointing and they want something different, they want more options. This game has options galore. This game puts Mario Kart's options to shame. Of course, if you're a massive Kirby fan and you know you want this game, this is for you as well. For the people that this game maybe not be for, honestly, I feel like the type of person that would not enjoy this game is the type of person that loves Mario Kart World or loves Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you love Mario Kart, just get that. You don't need Kirby Air Riders, especially for $70. This game has a lot of bite-sized experiences that don't quite click well with most people to start with, and it's worth $70. Now, would I say the game inherently justifies its value? Yes. I would say that this game does, in fact, have enough love, care, development time, options galore to justify it being $70. would I say it is then worth it? Because I think those two things are different. A game being worth the money to an individual person, and then the game being justified for its price. No, I wouldn't say the game is worth 70 bucks. I would say if I didn't have this channel, I would heavily have regretted buying Kirby Air Riders. I pushed through that initial slog, I pushed through what I didn't understand, and I found myself having a really good time. But I'm telling you, I'm probably not going to play this game much anymore. Now that this review is done, I'm probably just going to go back to Mario Kart, and I will probably get an itch here and there to come back to this game because there is something extremely, extremely satisfying about nailing everything about this game, about perfecting it, about hitting the corner just right, about zooming past the finish line at the last second. There is something really magical about it, but it's not for me. And I don't think it's going to be for most people. So if you are on the fence, I probably wouldn't recommend this to you. It's an experience that's going to be very weird. But if you have played this before, if you're a Kirby fan, if you didn't like Mario Kart, this is absolutely for you. If you see this game on sale, pounce on it. All of you. Like, literally, none of this matters if you see this game on sale for like $50, $40 down the line. But for where we are now, a month after this game's release, I would say it's probably not worth it to the vast majority of people. So, if you enjoyed today's review, if you learned a little something about this game, make sure you like and subscribe. Comment below what your favorite part of this game was and just about my video in general. Make sure you join my membership program to get early access to all my videos and support the channel, just a couple bucks a month. And make sure you click on the left side of your screen to see my video breaking down the game awards category by category, predicting each one. I got a lot of them right because Claire did sweep everything. And click on the right side of your screen to see my video on the Kirby amiibo, unboxing all that and that funny story time video I did. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Make sure you have yourself a phenomenal Kirby loving day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.